Now for our story. It was quite late at night. If Aunt Mary had stopped to think about herself, she would have realized that she was very tired. But Mary Lane was too occupied with another person's troubles. The young woman, Lisa Fenner, whom Randy had rescued from the river late that afternoon. As he sat by the girl's bedside, waiting for her to drop off to sleep, Aunt Mary was puzzling over something Lisa had just said. Lisa had mentioned Kitt Meade's name, and then, almost in terror, had implored Aunt Mary to forget it. Until this had happened, Lisa Fenner had been simply a person in trouble, someone to be helped. But now, Aunt Mary was worried. What, she wondered, could be the connection between Kitt Meade, who had caused her own family so many heartaches, and this unhappy young woman? Lisa had fallen asleep then, and Aunt Mary tiptoed quietly from the room and went downstairs where Lefty was waiting for her by the dying fire.
Why, Lefty, you still up?
Yep, I thought I'd wait. Figured you'd come down when the young woman dropped off.
Oh, you shouldn't have, Lefty. You'll be tired in the morning.
What about yourself?
Oh, I'm all right. I can get along without a lot of sleep.
You just think you can. You ought to have more rest than most people, the way you use up your energy.
No, don't you worry. I'm all right. Is Peggy in bed?
Yeah, and so's Randy. But he'd like you to stop in and say goodnight. He said he was going to read for a while.
Randy loves to be tucked in.
Well, Aunt Mary, what did you find out? Did the girl say what her trouble is?
Not exactly. But I'm beginning to understand part of her story.
Perhaps you don't feel free to discuss it.
No, Lefty. Frankly, I don't. I'm sure she'd want anything she told me to be kept in confidence.
Probably would. But there's no secret about her name, is there?
Oh, she didn't say not to mention it. Her name's Lisa Fenner.
Lisa Fenner. Doesn't ring any bells to me.
No, to me. I do feel sorry for that young woman. She's had a hard time of it. I wish I could find some way to help her regain confidence in herself.
Randy said she talked as if she had no faith in herself at all. It's hard to understand. A dreadful accident like that old railing breaking. And the girl said it had been better if Randy hadn't been there.
It's such a hard thing to combat when people lose their will to live. Seem to want to give up.
Yeah, I know. But I wouldn't worry about it, Aunt Mary. You've helped people out of worse jams than this young woman's in, I'm sure. Look at me. I wasn't exactly walking on air when you took me under your wing.
I know you weren't, Lefty, but this is different.
Different? How?
Well, there's something I don't quite understand. Some connection. I'm almost afraid to know the answer. But something that girl said worries me very much. Well, who can that be?
Sort of late for people to be dropping in.
Yes, it is.
I'll go see who it is.
Good evening, Lefty.
Hello, Bill. Come in.
Thanks. I know it's awfully late, but I saw the light on.
Aunt Mary's still up.
Oh. Well, do you think it's all right if I talk to her a minute or two?
Ask her. We're in the living room.
Why, Bill Meade.
Hello, Aunt Mary. I hope you'll forgive my barging in at this hour.
Oh, certainly, Bill. Glad to have you. I guess we're all night owls this evening.
Well, I was out toward Stanton this afternoon on business. You know that Italian family, the Angelinos?
Oh, yes, I think Peggy went to high school with one of the daughters.
Well, that must have been Maria.
Yes, I believe it was.
Oh, she's married now.
Oh?
Well, anyway, they wouldn't let me get away. Fed me spaghetti and red wine, regaled me with stories of the old country. I thought I'd never get away. Oh, and I saw your light was still on. I couldn't resist stopping in.
Well, I'm glad you did, Bill.
Well, I think I'll turn in. Nobody minds.
Well, that's a good idea, Lefty. You've had a tiring day.
Well, so have you, Aunt Mary. You'd better get to bed pretty soon yourself. Good night.
Good night, Lefty.
Good night.
You know, I'm afraid Lefty doesn't approve of my keeping you up, Aunt Mary.
Oh, don't mind him, Bill. Lefty's a regular old watchdog where I'm concerned.
Well, it's a good thing he is. I hope everyone doesn't bother you with their troubles the way I do. It seems to me I'm always giving you a tale of woe.
But I want to know what's happening to you, Bill.
Well, what about the Lane farm? Anything new out here?
Well, I should say there is, Bill. Something wonderful happened day before yesterday.
Is that so?
Yes. My son came back from overseas.
Randy?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, say, Aunt Mary, that is good news. But did you know he was on his way?
No. Randy always has loved to surprise people. He just walked in one night with no warning.
I'll bet you nearly fell over.
I certainly did. There he was at the door, terribly pleased with himself for taking the family unaware. And, of course, just like a woman, I was so happy I cried.
Well, I don't blame you. Oh, gosh, I'm glad, Aunt Mary. I know how you've missed him all these years. Peggy used to talk about him a lot. He sounds like a swell guy.
He is, Bill, and he's a fine boy. He's a lot like his father. And, of course, I must admit I have been worried. I couldn't help remembering the last war, when Randolph went away.
Yeah.
Randy was just a little tyke then, but somehow he understood. When he knew his daddy wasn't coming home anymore, he decided he'd have to be the man of the family. He was a lot of comfort to me, young as he was.
Yeah, he must have been.
But my goodness, here I'm doing all the talking, and I want to know about you.
Well, several things have happened. But the main thing is I went to see Angus McKillop again.
You did? What did Angus have to say?
It wasn't too good. He told me something that amazed me, something that had never even occurred to me.
What was that?
Well, Mr. McKillop said, the way he sees it, I never should have turned down Ben Calvert's offer.
What? Angus said that?
I know, I was floored, too. But that's what he said.
Well, I don't understand. Seemed to be the only thing you could do. If Ben put you in the position of having to choose between your child, giving him up, or... Well, I'm afraid I don't quite follow Angus's line of thought.
Yeah, I was pretty mixed up on it, too. But after he explained his reasons, I guess I see why.
What were his reasons?
Well, the way Mr. McKillop explained it, the whole trouble seems to be that, well, that I have no grounds.
No grounds?
Legal grounds. No basis for asking custody of the child. Or for that matter, no grounds for a divorce either.
Well, that's hard to believe.
Yeah, it was for me.
When I think of everything that's happened. Some of the things Ben Calvert's done.
I know. But the thing is, there's nothing you can put your finger on from a legal standpoint. No concrete evidence. You see, that's the catch.
No, Bill, I'm very sorry to hear this. I did so hope Angus would be able to help you out. He's such a good lawyer, too.
Yeah, that's what David Bowman says. And he says Mr. McKillop's a real fighter, too. A lot of times he's taken cases that looked absolutely hopeless and managed to win them.
He has. I can think of a couple of battles he's won myself.
I'm afraid this is one battle he's not even willing to start, let alone finish.
Did he refuse point blank?
I'm afraid that's about what it amounted to.
And he told you definitely it would have been better not to fight for custody of the child?
Oh, yes. In fact, he said I was crazy if I attempted it, because he doesn't think I'd win a divorce.
In other words, he believes you might come out with nothing? Not win your freedom or your baby?
Yeah, that's about it.
Oh, that's just too bad. I can't help believing the baby would be better off with you, Bill. Especially since I feel that Kitt's so much under her father's influence since she came back to Wakefield. Naturally, that child will be, too, as he grows older.
I know, Aunt Mary. I hate to think of it, but... Oh, it's pretty late. I mustn't keep you up any longer. I better say goodnight.
Bill, before you go, I wonder... Bill, I'd like to ask you a question.
Of course, Aunt Mary. What is it?
Does the name Lisa Fenner mean anything to you? Anything at all?
Lisa Fenner. No, it doesn't, Aunt Mary. I've never heard it before. Why?
I just wondered. I had an idea it might provide an answer to something. And I just thought you might have heard someone mention it.
Although Bill had not heard the name, Aunt Mary's premonition was not wrong. She was right in sensing some connection between Lisa Fenner and Bill's estranged wife, Kitt Meade. If only she could discover what that connection is before it is too late. Lisa Fenner had reasons for withholding from Aunt Mary or anyone else the truth regarding her baby son, the child everyone believes to be Kitt's own. But will Lisa give up her resolution not to speak of it? Now for our story. This morning, Kitt Meade had wandered into the nursery. Miss Thorndyke, the nurse, was out of the room for a moment, and the baby was kicking cheerfully in his crib. Looking down at him, it seemed to Kitt that he was the very image of Lisa Fenner, his own mother. But perhaps she imagined it, Kitt told herself. It might be simply that she had Lisa on her mind after their trying session yesterday afternoon. It had needed all her powers of persuasion then to convince Lisa that she had no right to claim the baby. To manage it so that Lisa left Ben Calvert's house without the child, Kitt had presented to her father as her own. It wasn't that Kitt wanted the child. She almost hated him now. But she was bound to him. She had to keep him rather than risk having the truth become known. The fact that the child was actually Lisa's. Now she tries to reassure herself, thinking,
There's really nothing to worry about. Lisa's gone. I have the child. I'm safe. I'm sure she took the train last night as she intended. But suppose she didn't. She might have changed her mind after she left. Decided to try some other way. If only I could be... Well, there's a way to find out. The Brown Palace Hotel, please. That's right, thank you. She left here early. Plenty of time to catch a train still last night. But she may have stayed over until... Hello? Hello, the Brown Palace Hotel. Well, can you tell me, please, has Mrs. Lisa Fenner checked out? She hasn't. I see. Well, let me speak to Mrs. Fenner, please. Oh. Well, have you any idea when she'll return? Yes, I'm a friend of Mrs. Fenner's. Oh, that is strange. You say she didn't return to the hotel at all last night? Well, did you receive any message from her? I see. No, I'll call back later. Thank you. Oh, she never went back. Something's wrong, I feel it. What can have kept Lisa from returning to the hotel, taking the train to Chicago? Where can she be?
Now, at the Lane farm, Aunt Mary has just entered the bedroom where Lisa Fenner has been resting after a rescue by Randy Lane. Aunt Mary is carrying a breakfast tray.
Good morning, Lisa. Good morning. Yeah, you're looking much better this morning. Am I? Oh, my. You're going to be all right before you know it. I'll just put this tray down here for a minute while we plump up those pillows. There. There, that's more like it.
Well, you've been so kind. I hate to put you to all this trouble.
Oh, nonsense, Lisa. I love it.
Oh, but I can't impose on your goodness. I feel so ashamed.
You've no reason to feel that way. Anyway, we won't talk about it now. I want you to eat this nice breakfast I brought you. I'll stay here and keep you company. I know I'd rather starve than eat a meal alone.
So would I. Oh, everything looks lovely.
Peggy set the tray. She and Lefty are awfully anxious for you to feel better soon.
That's nice of them. I must thank Mr. Larkin, too. He was so kind yesterday.
Yes, Lefty is very kind. He's had some hard times in his life, and he hasn't forgotten.
It's strange, isn't it? If he and your son hadn't been there, if Randy hadn't...
But they were there, dear. Let's not go back to what might have happened.
Oh, you're right, Aunt Mary. But I can't help thinking how different it all might have been if Randy hadn't seen me.
It's much more important to think of how different it's going to be. Can be, if you try. Because it depends very much on you, my dear. Randy's done his part. The rest in the long run is your job.
That's what frightens me. When I try to look ahead.
Oh, lots of people have felt that way at one time or another. I felt that way myself once.
Oh, I can't believe you ever gave up. You're so strong.
Well, if I seem to be now, it's something I developed because I had to. Strength isn't something one is born with always. It's just like muscles we develop through using them. I had to learn to be self-reliant.
But how does one go about learning?
Well, the first thing is to recognize the necessity. To realize that no one can help you unless you help yourself. I found that out when I was, well, just about your age.
What happened to you, Aunt Mary?
I lost Randy's father in the last war.
Oh.
Yes. I was all alone here then. That was before Lefty Larkin came along. Randy was just a boy. There were many times when I wanted to give up, but something wouldn't let me. I knew I had to keep the farm together, keep things going, for Randy's sake.
Yes, but don't you see the difference? You had a son, someone to care about. I have nothing. Not even something to look forward to.
Oh, now, perhaps you have, but you don't see it yet. Perhaps if you think of the good things you've had in the past. There were good things once, weren't there?
Yes, there were. Oh, but that was such a long time ago. When life was simple. Meant something.
You told me yesterday how happy you used to be with Lance, your husband. How you loved dancing. What a successful career you had.
But Lance is gone. I didn't even see him when I was in Chicago. I didn't want to.
Your husband is in Chicago now?
Yes. But it doesn't make any difference. He wouldn't want to see me anyway.
What makes you so sure? Perhaps you're mistaken.
No, I'm quite sure. You see, I was very bitter when we separated. I was angry, said things I didn't mean. He can't have forgotten. He's never tried to get in touch with me.
Then perhaps that's the first step you must make toward the future.
What do you mean?
If you hurt your husband, said things you regret now, wouldn't it make you feel better to tell him so? To make it right with him?
Oh, no, I couldn't. Oh, it's true, I was unreasonable. If I'd been more patient, it might never have happened. I see that now. But it's too late. I couldn't face him. Not after what I've done.
I wish you'd think about it, my dear. If you've wronged your husband, then admit it to yourself.
Oh, I do admit it. But there's nothing I can do, not now. Oh, I might have been able to. When I came here to Wakefield, I thought I could. But it didn't turn out that way.
Can you tell me what happened? What made you regret even for 1 minute that Randy was there at the bridge?
No, I'm sorry. I wish I could tell you, but...
It's only that I want so much to help you, dear. I'm not curious, Lisa. But I just feel there's something you want to get off your mind.
Yes, but...
But what, Lisa?
No, I'm sorry, Aunt Mary. I just can't say any more. Please don't be concerned about me.
But that's impossible, dear. I couldn't feel more worried and more concerned if you were my own daughter. Someday, when you have a child of your own, you'll understand.
A child of my own?
Lisa, do you have a child?
No. No, I haven't a child.
Lisa, there is something I want very much to ask you.
I'll answer it if I can.
Last night when we talked, you mentioned a name.
A name? What name?
You mentioned Kitt Meade.
Did I?
Yes. Is Kitt a friend of yours, Lisa?
Not a friend, exactly.
But, you know her?
Yes. I know her.
But from the way Lisa Fenner answered, Aunt Mary realized that no further questioning would help. That once more, she'd reached a stumbling block. She reviewed in her mind what Lisa had told her. Her strange silence before she denied having a child. Her reluctance to discuss Kitt Meade. Her feeling of guilt. If only you'd tell the truth, Lisa. If only you'd trust Aunt Mary now, you could save yourself and others a great deal of unhappiness. Now for our story. In the bedroom at the Lane farm to which she was brought after Randy rescued her several days before, Lisa Fenner stood at the mirror, carefully arranging her hair. 2 days of rest, nourishing food, and Aunt Mary's sympathetic understanding had made a great change in Lisa. Today she felt more cheerful than she had in months. For the first time, the feminine desire to look her best had reasserted itself. She'd chosen her most attractive frock from the suitcase Aunt Mary's son had brought to her from the hotel in Wakefield. Now, as she adds a last touch of makeup, she notices with pleasure that the dark circles under her eyes, the drawn lines around her mouth, have almost disappeared. There is a gentle knock at the door.
Come in.
Well, Lisa, you're up?
Yes, I felt so much better.
Oh, I'm so glad, my dear. And you look just lovely in that yellow dress.
Thank you, Aunt Mary. This is the first time in ages I've cared very much one way or the other. I know it means I'm better. In the hospitals, they say the first time a woman asks for a mirror, they know she's going to recover.
Well, it makes me very happy to see you looking so cheerful.
Oh, Aunt Mary, how can I ever thank you?
Why should you thank me for something that you've done yourself? You just lost yourself temporarily.
Yes, I suppose I had. That first night I came, it didn't seem possible that I'd ever find my way back either. But now, well, at least I can hope it might be.
There's no might be about it. I'm very proud of you, Lisa.
I only wish I could live up to your belief in me, Aunt Mary. I'd like to make you feel your confidence hasn't been wasted.
If you really feel like that, there is a way.
How?
Well, you've told me quite a lot about your work. Your dancing.
Oh, my dancing, yes, but that was a long time ago. It's finished now.
Somehow I don't believe it is. It may seem that I'm getting beyond my depth when I talk about it. A woman who's lived on a farm most of her life. And yet, I have a feeling about your work, Lisa. I have a feeling the answer to your problem lies in getting back to it.
Oh, but I couldn't, Aunt Mary. Well, I haven't danced for over a year now, not since Lance and I separated. I wouldn't know how to begin. I've lost track of the people I used to know. I'm out of touch with everything.
But couldn't you get started again?
Nobody would give me an engagement. I've never danced alone. It was always with Lance.
Just the same, I've an idea. I think I know of a way. Lisa, will you do as I say? Will you give it a try?
Well, I'm not at all sure it will work, Aunt Mary. I don't want to let you down. You've helped me so much.
Then you will?
Yes, Aunt Mary, I will. And I'll do my very best to justify your faith in me.
Aunt Mary didn't go into the details of her plan then. She tried to persuade Lisa to go into the living room or perhaps take a little walk around outside. But the girl insisted shyly that she wasn't quite ready to meet the rest of the family, saying she preferred to sit by the window in the bedroom and read the novel Peggy had sent in to her by Aunt Mary. But now, Aunt Mary goes downstairs where she finds Lefty Larkin poring over a seed catalog.
Well, Lefty, aren't you a little ahead of yourself?
Because I'm figuring out what to plant next spring?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, shucks, no. By the time I look at all the pictures and read all the pros and cons on every single flower, I'll be lucky if I get through in time.
Well, I do hope the phlox will do well this year. I'll never forget the wonderful mass of color they made last summer.
Yeah, I thinned them out last fall. May set them back a little. I want to put some larkspur in to fill out the delphinium bed. Delphinium. Weren't they beautiful last year?
Oh, my, yes. Remember that little verse Peggy used to recite? There once was a dormouse who slept in a bed of delphinium blue and geraniums red. Oh, by the way, did you remind Peggy to stop in at Swanson's for the things Lisa wanted?
Yeah, she made out a list. How's Mrs. Fenner feeling today, huh?
Well, I'm so encouraged, Lefty. When I went in, she was all dressed up. She had on a little yellow dress that looked charming on her. She tidied up the room and was going to sit by the window and read for a while.
Say, that does sound like she's out of the woods.
Yes. It did me good to see a little color in her cheeks. She was so dreadfully white when Randy carried her in that night.
Yeah. Has she told you any more about what's bothering her?
Well, I think I know pretty much what her background's been. She spoke quite a lot about her husband. They were dancing partners. That's how they earned their living.
Dancers, huh? What kind of dancing?
Well, it seems they did that exhibition ballroom dancing.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Did she keep on after she and her husband split up?
No, she didn't. That's the trouble. Apparently, she was so used to dancing with him that she didn't feel she could make a go of it by herself.
Lost her nerve, I guess.
Exactly. Lefty, I've been thinking a lot about it. And I think I know a way to help her get it back.
You mean to get her started dancing again?
Yes.
Oh, gosh, Aunt Mary. I know you're up to almost any sort of emergency. But when it comes to glamour girls and careers...
I know it may sound as if I'm attempting more than I can handle, but I don't think it is. Lefty, I'm sure Dell Shipley can help Lisa.
Dell.
Yes, Dell. Now, Lefty, stop looking like a thundercloud. Well, you ought to be ashamed of yourself. I can't even mention Dell's name without
You know how I
just going...
feel about that woman, Aunt Mary. The way she treated Peggy over her trouble in Chicago.
That's all water under the bridge now, Lefty. I never have agreed with your blaming Dell about that. She was only being loyal to you. Dell thought Peggy was guilty, being shielded by you, and she believed in your innocence. Now, you can't blame her for that.
I can't forget it either.
Regardless, this is one of the times when personal considerations don't matter, compared with getting another person started on the way toward happiness.
What makes you so certain that being a dancer again will make that girl happy, Aunt Mary?
It isn't just a matter of her dancing again, Lefty. It has a lot to do with her regaining confidence in herself, finding out she can take care of herself, be independent. You see, Lisa depended on Lance, her husband, a great deal. Evidently, he always made the arrangements, decided where they'd go, what music they'd use, and all that sort of thing. She just left everything to him. And that was all right, then.
What sort of a guy was he, this Lance?
From what I can learn, he's essentially a very nice person. But they were both awfully young. Their success went to his head a little, I guess. And Lisa was too hasty.
You mean it was her idea that they should separate?
Well, maybe it wasn't so clean-cut as that, but she does seem to wish she'd been more patient at the time. That perhaps the thing would have blown over if she had been.
You think there's any chance they might get together again?
I don't know about that, Lefty. But I do know there's a much better chance of it if Lisa regains her confidence in herself. Finds out she can have a career of her own, in spite of the fact that she doesn't have Lance to lean on.
Well, maybe you're right.
Besides, Lefty, I can't help feeling it's more than accidental. Lisa's coming to Wakefield, ending up in this house.
How so?
There's some connection, but I can't make out what it is. What was she looking for? Why did she come?
She hasn't given you any hint about that, has she?
No, except that she mentioned Kitt Meade's name.
Kitt Meade?
Yes. When I asked her about it, she refused to say another word. But I have a feeling that Kitt Meade has something to do with this whole thing.
Well, not necessarily, Aunt Mary. It might be just an accident.
I don't think so. Of course, there may be nothing in it at all. But I have a premonition about it. Lefty, I don't want to lose touch with Lisa Fenner.
Yes, Aunt Mary. If only you have faith in your own conviction about Kitt Meade's connection with this young dancer to whom you have given shelter. For even though Lisa seems determined to forget about Kitt, to forget that she ever had a child which is now in Kitt's possession, perhaps if you are patient, Lisa may lead you to the truth. Lisa is very determined, but, well, I wonder if through you, Aunt Mary, this determination will weaken.